In 2019, when the Modi government came back with a huge majority, Rahul Gandhi decided to step down as the Congress president. His board right behind me was replaced by that of Sonia Gandhi because she then became the interim president. There were quite a few smiles within the Congress party because they felt only she can do it. Today, as Congress stands on a threshold where the performance has been dismal, where opposition parties are actually breathing down on the Congress party that please buck up, pull up your socks, perform if you want to be the fulcrum of a front against Narendra Modi. I'm asking you this question once again, that should Sonia Gandhi take charge like she did in 2004? I'm Pallavi Ghosh, and my one take in this week asks this very question is there no one else apart from Sonia Gandhi in the Congress party who can weave a magic that she wove in 2004? In 2004, I was privy to the fact that by inch, she actually stitched up this UPA alliance. From a person who was dismissed off as a bimbit or someone who does not understand politics and someone who's a foreigner, she actually began to reach out to the very people who opposed her. For example, Sharad Pawar. Many were shocked when the NCP became a part of the UPA. Let's not forget that Mr. Pawar had quit the Congress party because he said, I cannot accept a foreigner as my leader. He had formed the NCP at that point of time. What came as a bigger shock was the fact that the DMK also became a part of an alliance. The relationship between the Congress and the DMK was uneasy after the assassination of Rajiv Gandhi because the grudge of the Gandhi family was always that Karunanidhi was not doing enough to punish the killers of her husband. But in politics, everything is forgotten if your eye is focused on that one goal, to get power. Sonia Gandhi had decided that enough was enough and Vajpayee government had to be dislodged, and therefore she went on this whole spree of forming a UPA and ensuring not once but twice that a UPA comes back to power. After that, it's been a complete downhill for the Congress party. Last week, I had raised this issue about how women politicians in India have often actually brought that change, and they have actually offered a formidable challenge to the men who have been in power. So whether it was Indira Gandhi taking on the men in her own party and even outside, whether it was again Sonia Gandhi taking on Vajpayee, we then asked this question about whether Priyanka Gandhi Vadra can actually take on the formidable BJP in Uttar Pradesh. I got your reactions on that. So this week I'm going to focus on Sonia Gandhi and why am I raising this question. You must have been noticing how Prashant Kishore has been reaching out to Sharad Pawar, how Mamata Banerjee, after a massive win in Bengal, was very open about the fact that all like-minded parties need to come together to take on Modi. In the like-minded parties, Congress, of course, is a very important factor. But what is it that a Congress has to offer? There are some who talk about a non-Congress, non-BJP front. But the thing with the Congress party is in many states, they are in one-on-one competition with the BJP, even though there are smaller parties coming up and newer parties coming up as well. For example, in Gujarat, in Rajasthan, where the Aam Aadmi party and other political parties are also coming up. Also, the truly national level political party still remains the BJP and the Congress. And the Congress matters according to the EC's own figures in up to 45 to 50% seats. So which means that if the Congress party pulls up its socks and performs well, it actually can be a fulcrum of an anti-BJP front. But more importantly, it can actually offer a ray of hope to many of the opposition political parties. But the grudge of the regional satraps, regional parties who are becoming powerful and also becoming a formidable opponent of the Modi factor, whether it's the Trinamool Congress, to a certain extent the DMK or the Aam Aadmi party, their main grudge is that the Congress is just too lazy to be a part of this. Yet some, like for example the NCP, the TMC also admit that if we are going to form any kind of a front at the central level against the BJP, the Congress will have to be a part of it. Which is why it is important for the Congress to deliver. Now, in the last assembly elections of all the states, barring Tamil Nadu, where it was riding piggyback on DMK, the Congress did not deliver at all. Important states coming up, for example, Uttar Pradesh, where it's going to be very tough for the Congress party actually to have very good figures. But apart from that, say a Punjab, then there's going to be a Uttarakhand, then there's going to be a Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh in the near future. There's a lot of hope which is pinned by the Congress leaders and on the Congress that they are going to actually do somewhat well. There's also this belief that it's only if Sonia Gandhi actually leads the Congress party that actually that kind of performance can be expected from the Congress party. The advantages of Sonia Gandhi in 2004, whatever may be the fact, and I started covering the Congress party very closely from the UPA times, and we used to have a lot of interactions. Reticent, not very open in talking to the media, a person with very few comments. One would not even know what is in her mind, but would take some time to take the decision, and very often it turned out to be the right one. Of course, let's not forget the contribution of a then political secretary, Ahmed Patel. He is no longer around, but Sonia Gandhi continues to be someone who many Congress leaders have a hope on. So what are the advantages of Sonia Gandhi? She listens to everyone. One good thing about a politician is that you can listen to many voices, but at the end of the day, you listen to your inner voice, and therefore you take a final decision. That's one. But the second most important factor is that if you're going to talk about any front against the BJP, you really have to be acceptable to almost all of them. Now, both Mamata Banerjee and Sharad Pawar have been very open about the fact that while they do like Rahul Gandhi, they think that he's intelligent, they cannot do business with him. It's not just the age or the generation factor, it's the entire demeanor of Rahul Gandhi, which is what many of them have a problem with. In that sense, it's easier for them to do business with Sonia Gandhi. I still remember around a couple of years back when there was an all-party meeting which was called, Sonia Gandhi personally called up Mamata Banerjee, Sharad Pawar, and all of them turned up to take on the BJP government at the centre. When the next such meeting was called by Rahul Gandhi, no top-notch leader came up. And there you have it. That's really an explanation. A third is why I made a mention of Priyanka Gandhi rather than Indira Gandhi is the woman factor. The fact is that women do have a little bit of an edge in the sense that people tend to be receptive. Many political experts believe that if anyone can take on the almost seemingly invincible Modi, it can perhaps be Sonia Gandhi. You know, the fact is that she's never minced words. She's very open and brazen, and sometimes people say tactless so in her opposition or animosity towards Narendra Modi. It almost seems very private. For example, there have been instances, and I remember the first Ram Leela, which they addressed at the Red Fort, where, you know, as a matter of courtesy, he as a Prime Minister had also invited Sonia Gandhi. He turns to look at her, but she does not even respond. There have been many such instances where she has kind of snubbed him because she cannot pretend to like the Prime Minister, even though political courtesy demands that you respect the Prime Minister or at least make an attempt to show a certain amount of courtesy. And therefore, whether it's on issues of women empowerment, whether it's on issues of price rise, she has taken him on. And you know, at times she has faltered. For example, her famous Maut Ka Saudagar comment in Gujarat elections when he was the Chief Minister, that didn't work at all. And therefore, there is this whole renewed demand, bring back Sonia Gandhi. Don't make her the interim president, or if you cannot make her the full-fledged president because she doesn't want to be one, let the status quo continue, because the next 3 years are going to be critical, and in fact the next few state elections are going to be critical. Many of them within the Congress party and outside also start feeling that Rahul Gandhi perhaps may be meaning well, but his aggression is not taken seriously, because when he takes pot shots at the Prime Minister, he calls him Chaukidar Chor hai, or when he says Chor ki dari mein tinka, and a Rafale is stuck on the beard of the Prime Minister, it doesn't go very well down with the voters and the people, because they feel that he's much younger to the Prime Minister. Why is he showing that disrespect? In terms of age also, Sonia Gandhi and the Prime Minister are very close to each other. So that generational animosity or disrespect is certainly not going to be a factor. And the fact, and the most important of them all, unlike Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi has delivered. State elections, 2 central elections, and therefore the opposition parties like the TMC, the NCP feel that if the Congress is under the banner of Sonia Gandhi, we have some hope, we can do business with her. I'm seeing a lot of reactions. Many of them feel there should be a generation change, and how long can you keep on depending on Sonia Gandhi? Well, let's see. Important developments are also expected. Do give in your reactions. Thank you so much for watching. We are going to be back with more next time.